The Montfort Mission is also the company called the Company of Mary, has existed for over 300 years, and it is now working all over the world in many countries, and among these Malawi, Uganda, Kenya, Zambia, and United States, and many other countries. Here with me on Luntha Television, face on face with Father Thom Poth, who is the Provincial Superior of the Montfort Missionaries in the United States. Father Poth, welcome on Luntha TV.
Thank you. It's really great to be here.
Yes. Let people know who Father Thom is.
Who Father Thom is.
Yes.
Well, I was born in 1952 in a town called St. Louis in the state of Missouri, which is in the center part of the United States. It was a rural, kind of a farming territory where I was born. But I was raised in a Catholic school, the Catholic school that was in our parish school.
Okay.
And then from there I went to high school at a place called Chaminade, which was run by the Brothers of St. Mary. And then from that, after I graduated, I went to St. Louis University, which is run by the Jesuits, where I got my degree in finance, so I could go into banking.
Okay. So you actually were a banker?
I was a banker for a couple of years. Actually, even in college, I was working at a bank. And then in graduation, that bank, I did not work there. I worked at another bank where they hired me. And I was interested in small business loans for companies that were beginning. That was my focus.
When did Jesus catch up with you? Yes, about your vocation.
You know what? Jesus was after me a long time. I just didn't want to pay attention. So in grade school and in high school, I was very active in different programs that we had in the school to minister to people in need. And I was always interested, but my senior year of high school, my father died. And I thought, you know, I just need to kind of step back a moment and see what God is trying to guide me in. So in doing that, I went to the university, got my degree in finance. But all that time, I was a CCD teacher for the grade school. For children that were going to public schools, they have classes on Saturdays or in the evening. And so I became a teacher to help out with that. So there was always something brewing. But eventually somebody invited me to go hear a priest give a talk. And it happened to be a Montfort father.
Okay. That's interesting that then you chose to move. How many are you in your family?
There's four of us. I have a sister, an older sister, an older brother, and a younger brother. So we're four altogether.
The four of you, and your parents said, okay, Father Thom, you, no, of course you are not father then.
That's
they
exactly
said, Thom,
right.
you go. Did they consent to this?
You know what? So my father died and before college, so I was with my mom and my younger brother at that time. And after I was graduated from the university and was working at the bank, I went to hear this talk by a Montfort father. And I realized that I felt a call from God. My mother, I said to Mom, I think I'm going to join the Montfort Missionaries. And you know what her answer was? You might get over it. So my mother wasn't, you know, she wasn't against it, but she wasn't, you know, she said, you had to see what this is all about. Okay. And so I went to Washington, D.C., where Father Bill Constantine was my formator.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went through formation, ordained. Tell us about that briefly, and the ministries where you have served.
Okay, so yes, I was went to Catholic University and got my degree as an MDiv, Masters of Divinity, and my first assignment. I wanted to be a missionary, and I always said I want to go someplace and do some great things. So my first mission was to St. Louis, my hometown. It was to a parish in an area that I didn't grow up in and know, and they taught me a lot. I learned. So my first mission was in a parish, St. Teresa of Avila, in a very poor part of St. Louis. So I began there, and then Father Bill Constantine was our provincial at that time, and he said, Thom, after a number of years, I need you to do vocation animation for the community. So in 1989, I moved from that ministry to vocation animation. And then we had a need at our shrine, and he said, I need you to go to the shrine and do animation. So little by little, I ended up in the shrine ministry. So welcoming pilgrims, welcoming people broken in their lives. That was the best part of the mission. Just sitting with people, listening to people, crying sometimes when people were sharing their struggles. That taught me the most important part of ministry is listening, to be with people.
We are chatting with Father Bill,
Okay.
Father Thom, that you mentioned, Father
Yeah, I know,
Bill
exactly.
again, that he was your formator. Now I come back and get me mixed up. Father Thom Poth was ordained in 1983, and so I was born in 1983.
So you celebrated 40 years, and I celebrated 40 years in ministry.
Imagine,
Yeah.
you know how much it's humbling it is for me to talk to someone who was ordained when I was being born. Your experience has a lot for me to learn. Tell me a little bit, what has made you move up this far, celebrating 40 years as a priest?
What has moved me the most, or moved me? Do you know, it's learning the most important part of ministry is compassion. And that's from the gospel. Jesus had incredible compassion for everybody, including those who were voiceless in our society. And so my experience of ministry has always been with people who don't have a voice, to listen to them, to encourage them, to build them up, to strengthen them. That's been a big part of the mission for me. Even with people with mental and physical disabilities. That has been a powerful mission to me. People will say to me, Father Thom, how do you give a retreat for a week with people with disabilities? I said, I don't. God works. God works in this incredible way. And there's joy, and there's listening, and there's stories, and we all just take time with each other. You might have to go a little slower, and that's the gift of people with disabilities. They slow us down to listen more.
That makes the two of us, I see that we share a lot in common. I'm a sign language interpreter, by the way. I move with compassion, looking at the deaf and the other. Doing my theology, I had to add on sign language, and so I see that a lot we have in common. Again, as we move up with time on, it's beautiful listening to Father Thom and looking at the compassion, especially being there and listening to people, especially those without a voice. Father Thom, taking you back now to the administrative work, when did you take office as the provincial of the American province? Yeah.
So I've been the provincial for the last 6 years. And prior to that, I finally got to do my missionary work. The community asked me to go to Nicaragua.
Okay.
So I at the age of 55, I left the country, moved to Nicaragua, and for 5 years worked in the mission in Nicaragua, where I had to, for the first time in my life, learn a new language so I could communicate. So it was a traumatic experience at the age of 55 to learn a new language. It's not easy to do that when you're as old as me. But what was really beautiful about it is that when you don't have words, God works through you. And it was almost at my very beginning, when I'm talking like a baby, I was like, oh God, why do you want me here? And God said, because I want you, Thom, to just be with people. And that was a powerful experience. So that experience of that 5 years, at the end of that, I was asked to come back to the States to help care for our older men. And that led me to get called forth into leadership. So for the last 6 years, I've been acting as the provincial, trying to learn how to be a servant to the servants.
Beautiful. I know now you're coming off after the general chapter. How has it gone? What's the direction of the congregation?
Well, you know what? It was a powerful experience of listening again to many voices that make us one in unity. The big concern is to how can we be present to young people? What forms do we need to have where we can listen to their needs and their struggles? And young people today face new struggles that I never had to face. Multimedia, so much noise that we're bombarded with day in and day out. It's really a lot for young people. And so I found at the chapter there was a real concern for how do we evangelize in a new way to our young brothers and sisters? And that was powerful. And what was also stressed, that we do it together. You know, that's a key, that we work together.
What would be your message to the outgoing Superior General, Father Luizinho, and the incoming Superior General, Father Dewey, and his council?
Yeah, Father Luizinho was, again, a man who listened and had compassion for all the struggles. And right now, in our poverty in the United States, as a community, we're older members. And so he would listen to that and encourage us to figure out new ways to maybe draw new life into the community. And so I found him to be a really compassionate listener and always concerned about what I was facing or the difficulties, and also the mission in Nicaragua, which is our responsibility also, as things are getting more complicated within that country and within that mission. Father Luizinho was always there. Father Dewey I've known for a long time, prior to, because he was on the general team as a member of the team several years ago, and I got to know him at that time. And I find him also a man of wisdom. He really, he's calm and listens and is concerned about where we go, but that key word is together.
Together. I know time is not on our side, and so we have to be moving up. I know you have come to visit the Africa Anglophone delegation. What would be your message to the Montfort missionaries in this delegation, and your message to the Montfort missionaries all over the world?
Oh yeah, the last time I was here was in 2001 for the Congress, I think the Montfortian Congress. That was the, I guess, 100th anniversary of the founding of the province, if that's correct, the entity?
Yes, it's in 1901, so that should have been 100 years, yeah. Yes, exactly.
So it was, what's fun now is for me to, and since I just got here, so now I need to listen and meet, so meeting you and Norbert, and what's been wonderful so far is this excitement of new life, and to, all I can say is keep on working together, because that seems to be the key.
Thank you so much, Father Thom, for taking time to speak to us. To our friends, our viewers, we are coming to the conclusion of our one-on-one with Father Thom Poth, who is the Provincial Superior of the United States of America. Father Thom, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And God's blessing as you continue. Keep us in your prayers as we continue to minister.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We end it at this. Thank you for watching Luntha Television, and keep on for our next programs. God bless.